On February 24th, 2004, a stranger arrives at the house of controller Peter Nielsen.
Ja. Get out of my face. Just go away.
It was just the saddest thing you can imagine. I knew his family. I knew how much he loved his kids and his wife, and
The presumed perpetrator is apparently 48 years old and of Eastern origin. He is likely the father of one of the families that was killed at the crash. He likely lost his wife and both their children.
They find Vitaly Kaloyev in a nearby hotel. Suspected but not yet charged with the murder. He's currently in a psychiatric clinic until they decide whether he's fit to stand trial.
Did he have the capacity to discern? Was it an impulse, or did he have the capacity to commit a crime?
Certain traces and police evidence were found which seemed to indicate that he could be the murderer.
We are working on this theory after the accused himself conceded that he could be the murderer.
We didn't want him to be killed. We didn't want to have more victims related to that catastrophe because of our children.
The killing of the flight controller was a very, very sad event. And the saddest thing of all was that he was not actually responsible for the accident. The system responsible for the accident was the poor Skyguide management and quality control of their system.
Investigators worked out exactly what went wrong that night at Skyguide and how an unfortunate series of events made the disaster almost inevitable. First, Peter's colleague goes for a break, leaving him alone to watch two radar screens several feet apart.
It was a standard practice at the ATC company that at night, one air traffic controller was responsible for controlling the entire airspace of ATC Zurich.
Then, following management instructions, the maintenance men start turning things off. Peter's radar screen is working more slowly and won't warn him if two planes are about to collide, which he doesn't know. STCA, or Short-Term Collision Alert, is a warning on the radar screen that planes are in imminent danger of colliding. Then, an unexpected aircraft, the Aero Lloyd tourist plane, arrives at a critical moment and requires a lot of attention, which completely distracts Peter. He tries to get outside help, but the main phone system has been accidentally disconnected by the maintenance crew, and the backup phone isn't working either. Peter Nielsen has been robbed of all the technical support he needs.
The phone link with Friedrichshafen was down. At this time, there were various radio transmissions, and the controller had to answer them on the different frequencies.
Finally, when both planes are descending, the DHL pilots can't tell Peter what's happening because the radio frequency is busy.
The earliest they could do that was 23 seconds later, because until then, the frequency was blocked by the ATC Zurich transmission to the Tupolev crew.
May 2004. It took German BFU investigators 22 months to publish their final report. Two main causes were given for the disaster. First, Peter Nielsen didn't notice the danger of the collision quickly enough. And second, the Russian crew was wrong to obey Peter's order to descend rather than their own TCAS equipment telling them to climb. But other pilots understand their dilemma.
The TCAS commands are spoken in such a dispassionate voice. Descend. Increase descent. Such a matter-of-fact type of voice. And then there's the voice of the air traffic controller's urgent command. Descend immediately. Leave this altitude immediately. Go to another altitude at once. So, whichever voice sounded more urgent was the one the crew obeyed.
Finally, the report severely criticized SkyGuide for leaving a lone controller on duty that night.
Why didn't they provide safety during that flight, when my child was on board? They must take the responsibility for not providing security for that flight.
Mistakes were made by us also, and we regret them deeply. We acknowledge our responsibility as set out in the BFU report, and we ask the families of the victims for forgiveness.
At SkyGuide in Zurich, a rose now sits in a vase to commemorate Peter Nielsen and the tragedy of Überlingen.